As the five-jet black J-20 is ripped through the skyline of northern China in wedge formation, the roar of their turbofan engines was like the low roar of a dragon, carving white trails through the clouds. This deep dark armor, which made its debut in formation in the summer 2025 parade rehearsal, is not a simple visual innovation. The carbon nanotube composite coating flowing on the surface of the fuselage attenuates infrared radiation by more than 60%. The jagged edges of the hatches and the metal oxide cockpit coating are woven together to form an electromagnetic black hole, and the rear of the cockpit is a thick neck that rises up. Inside the bulging, thick neck structure, a new generation of distributed aperture system, composed of 1,286 micro-antennas is quietly running, sacrificing part of the rearward vision for a 360-degree dead-angle battlefield sensing capability. This group of Black Phantom, that had been briefly seen in the prototype stage, is now reappearing in the sky in combat posture, marking the completion of China's stealth technology from the laboratory to the ultimate metamorphosis of combat readiness. In the center of the formation, the streamlined spine of the two-seat J-20S glows in the sunlight. The AI controller in the rear cabin runs his fingers across the touch screen, commanding the invisible Strike 11 drone swarm through the high-speed data link. This globally unique, dual-brain mode allows the front cabin pilots to focus on air combat. The rear has been synchronized with the launch of electronic jamming and missile saturation attacks, when the U.S. Army GAD concept of the sixth-generation aircraft is still struggling in the drawing stage. China's manned-unmanned synergy system in the East China Sea has experienced a battle-hardened. In June of this year, the encounter, it is this system so that the Wanhai Brigade, J-20A at supersonic speeds to complete the 70-degree angle of elevation of the sharp turn. Then the F-35 turn radius of 20% smaller than that of the enemy cut into the rear of the aircraft. The ballistic tanks open the Thunderbolt 15 missiles of the Cold Light, in the 10,000-meter high altitude, staged a thrilling, death open screen. However, when you take a closer look, the power core of these Black Raptors is still a special version of the WS-10C with a maximum thrust of 14.7 tons, although it has supported the Mach 1.6 supercruise capability, so that the J-20 series to get rid of the early dependence on the Russian-made L-31F, short legs, and power loss dilemma, when the history of fuel can only fight 1,500 kilometers in front of today's 2,000 kilometers of combat radius seems so far away. But the engine nozzles have not yet been eliminated, but the tail flames at the engine nozzles are still telling the story of unfulfilled expectations. The real change rests on the WS-15, code-named MI, the surging heart of which has been validated on board. The measured thrust of 18.5 tons and the thrust-to-weight ratio of more than 10 not only overwhelm the F119 engine of F-22, but also mean that J-20 will unlock the fantastic performance of Mach 1.8, sustained supersurfing and Mach 2.8 top speed. The innovative design of rhenium nickel-based single crystal turbine blade and ceramic-based composite nozzle makes its temperature resistance jump 300 degrees Celsius and fuel consumption drop 12%. The more far-reaching significance lies in the energy advantage. The WS-15's high-power generator can support radar power multiplication and electronic warfare system in full operation, which makes the warplane transform from a stealth assassin to an electromagnetic suppression platform. On the test flight site in the Northwest Desert, the J-20 equipped with the verification version of the WS-15 has staged a shocking scene. After skimming over the observation deck at a high speed of Mach 2.5, the aircraft completes a 180-degree turn in less than 3 seconds, and the blue flames from the tail nozzle make a perfect Greek letter, omega, in the air. Behind this maneuver, known to pilots as the death-defying pirouette, is the fire dance of the high-temperature alloy blades at a pre-turbine temperature of 200 K. Although the first flight in September 2024 when the photos were exposed had triggered a global shock, but the road to mass production is still stuck in the blade mass production yield, each piece of value comparable to the equivalent weight of gold turbine blade. Need to go through 47 precision processes. Any small defect may lead to the whole machine thrust plummeted by 30%. However, the dawn of the industrial chain breakthrough has already appeared. A new pulsating production line at a base in southwest China is being debugged, and the plan for a small batch of elite troops to be installed in 2026 has entered the countdown. In the mixed formation, the wingtip pods of the J-160 electronic warfare aircraft are flashing a ghostly green signal. This warplane, called Roaring Dragon by NATO, has accurately cracked the LPI radar mode of F-35 during the confrontation in the East China Sea. When it and the J-20 form a stealth plus electromagnetic suppression, combination, the classic tactic of the J-18G Growler, shooting down the F-22, was repeated. The addition of J-35A builds a triple deterrent system, the former's stealthy surprise defense to tear open the defense line, the electromagnetic blade of the middle blinds, the enemy network, and the latter's missile saturation strike ends the battlefield. It is worth noting that the entire parade formation did not see the figure of a J-10C. This reflects the Air Force strategy from the homeland air defense to the front of the island chain of profound transformation. Even though the J-10 series in Pakistan overpowered the Rafale to create a legendary 9-0 record, its inherent lack of range and ammunition capacity in the often across 2,000 kilometers of sea combat has become a fatal shortboard. Now they are taking a backseat to the supersonic world at the Sangzhou Training Center, where they can show young eagles the mysteries of the supersonic world. The sirens of the East China Sea Air Defense Identification Zone are still ringing in our ears. During that encounter in June this year, when 4J-20As grabbed the high ground, with Mach 1.6 supercruise supported by WS-10Cs, the American and Japanese pilots exclaimed on the radio, "They're 90 seconds faster than the data link predicted." The most thrilling moment in the tussle occurred at 8,000 meters. The lead pilot, having locked onto the target on his helmet display, suddenly pulled up at a 70-degree angle of elevation. The supersonic airflow tore out a conical white mist on the edge of the wing, and in the dizziness of the 6G overload that drew the blood from his head, he saw the enemy plane on the flat screen display being put into the red targeting ring, a tactical maneuver called Cobra Pulse, which relied on the J-20's lift coefficient of up to 2.2 in conjunction with the precise coordination of the full motion drogue. This tactical maneuver, called the Cobra Pulse, relies on the precise coordination of the J-20's high lift coefficient of 2.2 and its fully motorized drogue. As the cold light of the Thunderbolt 15 missile illuminates in the nacelle, the warning from the English Channel is as cold as ice: "You have entered Chinese airspace, withdraw immediately." This silent race is reshaping the global balance of air power. The US military's hastily pushed YFQ-42 44A Coordinated Combat Aircraft program has yet to make its maiden flight, and China has already deployed manned-unmanned formations. When the F-35 was forced to add electronic pods to sacrifice stealth performance due to Block 4 upgrades, the J-20A is compensating for its single-point limitations with a systemic advantage. What is more shocking is the scale advantage. 300 active J-20 series fighters have already surpassed the total number of American F-22 fleet, and with Chengdu Aircraft Company's pulsating production lines, MOB, speed of 4 per month, China's stealth fighters will exceed the 500 mark in 2 years. Looking back in 2025, the evolution history of J-20 is the history of China's aviation industry breaking through the wall. The pseudo-fifth-generation aircraft without supercruise, which was mocked by the West at the time of its maiden flight in 2011, now shocks the sky with its all-black paint. The Lame Eagle, which once relied on the L-31F, has grown to become the world's second-largest stealth fleet under the auspices of the WS-10C. Northwest Test Flight Base of the monitoring room, engineers staring at the screen on the turbine temperature curve. They know that the WS-15 sprint stage is just like a high-temperature alloy blade in the combustion chamber to withstand the limit of the test, each delayed 1 day, are in the accumulation of more violent thrust. When this Chinese heart finally roar in the sky, lit not only the blue flame of the combustion chamber, but also a civilization's burning thirst for the crown of technology. Perhaps one morning next year, a long-lost sonic boom cloud will explode in the sky above North China, and the Black War Eagle will tear open the sky with Mach 2.8, announcing to the world that the coordinates of the East will be carved on the throne of cutting-edge technology.